On today's edition of the Cowboys Report, we're taking a look at some potential surprise cut candidates for the Cowboys. This obviously would come in closer to roster cutdown time, but it's an early look at these names with OTAs underway for Dallas. We will have Cowboys videos for you all off-season long, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. We are focused on the surprise names. So let's begin with the presumptive number one back for the Dallas Cowboys. And all these names I'm mentioning, I think are probably going to make the roster. Maybe one or two don't. That's what would make it a surprise. But they're not actually guaranteed a roster spot. And I think the theme of competition will be critical for the Cowboys this offseason. JaVante Williams has a very meager $3 million cap hit. Only $2 million of that is guaranteed. That's not actually guaranteed a roster spot. That's like in line to be the lead back with the way the roster is currently constructed. But if he doesn't look good, if he struggles, if other guys look better, the Cowboys can move off of him if they want to. And if you don't see closer to 2021 version of JaVante Williams and other young backs, other backs in general emerge, the Cowboys are not committed to JaVante Williams. They are not locked in with him being a part of this running back room. If Jaden Blue looks elite, if Phil Maffa looks awesome in training camp, if Miles Sanders looks good, we'll see about Dufon. But if Dufon looks way better with his old OC and O-line coach in place now in Dallas, the Cowboys could move on from JaVante if they want to. Frankly, only guy I think guaranteed a roster spot of running backs is Jaden Blue. Hunter Lipke's a fullback. We'll count him. That leaves, 3 at most spots, including Lipke. And that gets a little bit interesting once you pair with Jaden Blue. And that's why Miles Sanders is also on this list. I think there is a scenario in which one of these guys doesn't make the roster if the Cowboys love what they get out of their rookie players. Now, Miles' Sanders contract is fully guaranteed, but it's only $1.2 million. So, that's just the vet minimum, essentially. So, again, it's all guaranteed. You would be eating less and saving less than JaVante Williams, but the investment level is extremely minimal here. And if you get more sub 3.5 yard per carry-esque play out of Miles Sanders, and Phil Maffa looks good, and Jaden Blue looks good, and JaVante looks great, if one of these veteran guys who aren't going to help you on special teams fall to the 4th running back spot, you don't really, running back / fullback spot, maybe you don't need them. So hypothetically, if you can only pick one, and I think there is a more likely chance both guys make the roster with the way it's constructed, but if you could only pick one, who would it be? JW for JaVante Williams or MS for Miles Sanders? This one would certainly fall in the surprise category. But again, there's nothing guaranteed about the way the Kenneth Murray contract is currently constructed. He's got a $7.41 million cap hit. Only $1 million of that would be guaranteed by the Cowboys. It was essentially a roster bonus they picked up. 6.41 is the cap savings. So if you think, we made a mistake, Kenneth Murray's not the guy we thought he was going to be, you can cut him. And you would have traded down and paid $1 million for a right of first refusal look essentially at Kenneth Murray. I think the injury to DeMarvion Overshown is why this falls in the surprise category, because he's not going to be ready for week 1. If you don't have Kenneth Murray, all of a sudden your linebacking core is Maurice Leafau and Shamar James and Jack Sanborn and Damone Clark, and even if Justin Barron makes it, that's probably be more inclined to give Kenneth Murray, I think is in line to be the lead snap getter at linebacker this year. But if you don't think he's a fit after all, you can move on if you want to this offseason. Then let's go to Jack Sanborn, who I am excited about. I think from a value perspective, this was an obvious fit of I love the signing. He knows Matty Rufus' scheme, could be in line to be a starter at linebacker early on. But again, we're focusing on the contract stuff here. He's not guaranteed anything. $1.5 million cap hit, super cheap. $1.35 million in savings. That's a drop in the bucket. That doesn't impact things. If Shamar James, if Matt Eberflus fixes Damone Clark, you can move on from Samborn if you want to. I don't think they're going to. I think he's a really good scheme fit in Matt Eberflus' system. But again, if you're looking for possible surprise candidates, the money makes it an option here. Because Damone Clark's not a surprise candidate for me at this point. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Take advantage of your last chance to cash in on the basketball playoffs, on hockey playoffs as well. Go Stars. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for a shot to 2,000 times your cash today. I got more than CeeDee Lamb receiving touchdowns, less than Breece Hall rushing yards in a run-heavy offense. Fields will cut into a good amount of those, and more than Dak Prescott TDs. Flex play. That way, if I get one wrong, I still come out on top. Go download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's CLNS over at prizepicks.com/CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Got 8 names in total today. Next up is wide receiver Jalen Tolbert. And again, I'm heavily focused on the savings. Like, is it possible to move off this guy? I think Jalen Tolbert is more in line to be your wide receiver 3. But what happens if Jonathan Mingo and or Javonte Turpin look awesome? What if the Cowboys think Mingo is going to be just as good, if not better, than Jalen Tolbert? Well, then in that scenario, you could move off him. He might be more of a trade candidate in that scenario. But Tolbert's gotten better every year. And I actually would argue it's reasonable to think that Tolbert should be at least as good in 2024, if not a little bit better. But there is a numbers game at receiver with George Pickens in tow. Turpin is going to be involved on this team. He's making it. Mingo's going to make it because of the guaranteed money. Like, you lose money by cutting him. You're probably not going to go down that path. So that's 4 spots. If Mingo and Turpin can jump Tolbert, well, then he's wide receiver 5, and he probably isn't going to be a core special teamer. And at that point, kind of see how I got here, right? Even though I think in the end, he is wide receiver 3 for this team. Do you agree? Will Tolbert be the number 3 wideout for the Cowboys this upcoming season? Y for yes, N for no. Let's go to the defensive end room. Payton Turner. And this one is a little bit of a stretch, but there is a numbers game at edge too as far as I'm concerned. Turner is due $2.47 million. The cap savings are negligible. It's less than 50 grand in your cap savings. But Turner hasn't been productive over the course of his NFL career. He's been pretty bad for a first-round pick, all things considered. So I am looking at this defensive end room, and I go, okay, who's guaranteed? Micah Parsons, Dante Fowler, Donovan Ezeraku, Marshawn Kneeland. That's 4. How many edges are you going to take? I think the correct number is 6, with adding Sam Williams and Payton Turner. If the number's 5, if they go out and add a veteran defensive tackle and they only want to go 5 deep at edge and there's no injuries, then it's either Payton Turner or Sam Williams, who, again, could also be a potential trade candidate like Jalen Tolbert, which we did a video on, too, previously. He's not due very much money. He hasn't hit the playtime incentives to get more like Jalen Tolbert and Moan Clark have. Under $2 million owed this year. Super cheap. You save about 1.5, though. That's kind of a decent amount of money you're saving there. But you're hopeful, you're optimistic that you get the better version of Sam Williams than what I think you really saw in his second. I thought he was better in his first year. But if he's not fully locked in, I'm not saying he's not, but this is kind of a make or break year for Sam Williams. If he doesn't have a good camp, I think he could be on the chopping block, so to speak. So name a player who you want to see the Cowboys cut. Any player can be a surprise or not a surprise name. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I think it's almost cheating putting CJ Goodwin on here, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the scenario I present is not cut and doesn't make the roster. It's cut and hangs on the practice squad for a few weeks, which he didn't do last year but has done previously. The way the contract is structured makes that a possibility. He's due $1.2 million on the cap in 2025. A release would save a little over $1 million, which he essentially gets back with practice squad stuff and eventually makes it there. This could be part of your roster gymnastics. We did our roster projection. I did this because it's tough to find only 53 because they think the Cowboys in general did a good job building out that 40 to 60 spot on the roster this year. Injuries will probably happen, making some decisions easier. But I could see a scenario in which you kind of have to fudge the numbers and make Goodwin a practice squad option. No waivers for him. Makes it easy.